Alright folks, so in this video what we're going to do is a review of the Abbree, I'm not exactly sure how you say that, tactical folding antenna for Baofeng radios. Now this antenna will fit on radios other than Baofeng's, but I think it's designed for that, kind of targets that market. It also targets airsofters. You see airsofters with these things all over the place. Anyhow, to me I always thought this was a little bit of a gimmick antenna, but it's getting a lot of positive reviews, so I wanted to check it out and I ordered one myself. You can see that it comes with these two rubber gaskets, and it comes in this package. And it's my understanding if your Abbree antenna comes in a package different than this, it could be fake. Now, it could be fake coming in this package or a package like this, but it's my understanding that to be real, it's got to come in the green bag. Now, this antenna consists of two parts. It has the radiator and a loading coil at the bottom. I'm going to take the loading coil off because there's something that I found interesting I want everybody to see. If you take a look at this, it says 8 watts, 136 megahertz to 520. Keep that in mind as we continue to do the video. Alright, let's check out the Amazon website where you can pick this thing up. The Abbree antenna comes in a variety of sizes, all the way down from 13 inches all the way to 42, and we got the 42.5 inch one. What I want to pay attention to is it says over here it's got a 5 dBi gain. Now that's 2.5 dBd in regular language, but that's for another video. Here you can see some of the attributes of the real antenna versus the fake antenna, and here's where it shows the fake package in the yellow bag. So I'm sorry to anybody who picked up one in a yellow bag. Further down the page, I wanted to highlight that it says max power of 20 watts, and this is incongruent with the markings on the loading coil that say 8 watts. Is this a problem? I don't know, but it's a little bit of a discrepancy that I'm somewhat concerned about given why I purchased this antenna, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So for our first test, we're going to measure SWR using the TheSmokinApe RS40 meter. It's an analog meter. And I made a little bit of a chart. We're going to test this on two radios, a Baofeng UV5R and a Juntai JT6188. We're going to test it on a variety of frequencies. And as we go through this test, we are going to measure our SWR. And I have it set on low power of 15 watts. So I have a frequency typed into my Baofeng radio, and then I'm going to go ahead and key up. I've already gone on and done a station identification on each one of these frequencies, and it's within the 10-minute time span. So as I go through and I test this, you can see that the needle for SWR is barely moving. And I found that to be very surprising. I did not expect the Abbree antenna to be so wide-banded. I really didn't, so that was shocking to me. I figured that it would have pretty low SWR on portions of the bands, both 2 meters and 70 centimeters, but I didn't expect it to turn out as positive as it did. So let's just go ahead and fast forward through this test, and then we can talk about the results afterwards. Now, one of the reasons I bought this antenna, and the actual main reason is that I wanted to use it on a small dual-band mobile radio. I have a little 25-watt Juntai, and that'll be coming up next in the SWR testing video. And I got the idea from a buddy named Evan that I talk to sometimes online. And he said that he could use this for a portable Go box or something like that. And I was like, hey, that's a fantastic idea. Up until that point, I had no intention of buying this antenna. As I mentioned, I thought it was pretty gimmicky. So here we are testing the antenna on the Juntai, running through the meter. Obviously, it would be a good idea to have a whip antenna like the Abbree for usage on a small mobile like this, if it turned out well. Now, the SWR testing, as we're going to see, did turn out pretty well. But one thing I noticed, as I was testing the Juntai, the radio cut off. I've had it for a number of years. I hadn't used it in a while, and it had never cut off before. I don't know if it's the antenna configuration. I don't know if it's the battery. I need to look into it a little bit more. But I did find that a little bit odd that just sometimes when I would key up the mic, the radio went off. It did it about 30% of the time. I was not able to recreate that with the dummy load. So here are the results of the SWR test. As you can see, it's two different radios on 2 meter and 70 centimeter, the same frequencies, and I tested it at high power for both of the radios. Now I know that when I tested on the JT6188, I was at 25 watts, which is above what was rated in Amazon at 20 watts. And then I also know that the antenna said 8. And that may have contributed to the radio cutting off. Maybe something reflected back. It didn't reflect back in the form of SWR. Maybe, I don't know. I can't explain it. But what is surprising is how low the SWR is. It gets a little bit high towards the top end of the 70 centimeter band at 1.75. Given the Juntai radio is older and I've had it for a while and it cost me about $75, I'm fine operating that at 1.75. I prefer to operate a lower SWR. But as you can see, it's very wide banded and performed pretty well from a SWR standpoint. Anyhow, if you want to spend more time looking at this, go ahead and pause the video and take a gander. We're going to move on. So what I want to do now is take this antenna outside. I'm going to hook it up to the Baofeng, and I'm going to do some transmission testing. And I'm going to receive these transmissions on my SDR radio, so rtl-srd dongle. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to take a look at what the SDR picks up on its spectrum analyzer, waterfall, pan adapter, whatever you want to call that. We're going to compare this to the stock antenna that comes with the UV5R, and we are also going to compare it to this very flexible signal stick antenna, which is a dual band antenna as well. I put an adapter on there because it's a BNC antenna and I want to make sure that it connects correctly to the Baofeng. And then the Abbree has the SMA female adapter that is appropriate for the Baofeng radio. You can see here that I'm attaching the antenna in preparation for the test. And I did want to demonstrate that there is a little bit of a gap there, and this is where you would utilize those rubber gaskets. I do feel that this antenna puts a lot of strain on this radio and any other that you attach it to. It's probably a good idea to have those gaskets in there, but I'm not sure that this is a really good solution for an aftermarket antenna for a handheld radio. I'm not going to use it that way. Testing 1 2. 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 So at the end of my review or testing, if you want to call it that, I really am still at a little bit of a crossroads. I went from thinking that this was a terrible gimmick antenna that was nothing more than a fad to seeing that it performed pretty well in some certain use cases, which I found to be quite surprising. I do think that the 42 inch is a little bit overkill for an HT, as I mentioned earlier in the video. I just don't think it's a very practical idea to have something this big on an HT, and I think it puts your connector for your antenna in tremendous risk. I had seen on the internet where people had reported cracking or breaking. The other thing is that I do have a little bit of a heartburn over this saying 8 watts on the antenna and then being rated as 20 in the advertisement on Amazon.com. Now, which is right, I don't know, and maybe it's not really that big of a deal. The use case that I bought this for, as I mentioned, is a whip antenna for a mobile radio. I don't think that I like it for that either. So the likelihood of me keeping this antenna around, I'll probably just pass it along to somebody that thinks they're cool. And it is kind of cool, and it's kind of fun to play around with. But again, I think I still fall into the camp that it's a gimmick. If it meets your use cases, great, that's fantastic, and I wish you the best of luck with it. But at the end of the day, it's not really for me. Anyhow, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, go ahead and click the thumbs up or leave a comment. That's really it. Thanks, everybody.